up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are reacting to Ed Sheeran's new album Equals because it has just dropped on all streaming platforms. This is a very hotly anticipated album, it always is with Ed Sheeran, and this is the first album reaction video that I am doing, and I couldn't think of a more fitting album to do it for. My name is Joe Gautry and I'm a songwriter and music producer based in London. Music producing and songwriting is my full-time occupation and my full-time income, so I feel like I can have a little bit of a creative input on the songs and give my opinion on them. What I will be doing is, because there's a lot of songs to get through and I want to keep this video as short as possible, you'll be hearing me listening to the first half of the song, but I will listen to the whole of each song and then give my opinion on each one, again from a songwriting and production point of view. So if you do want to listen to the whole album after you finish watching this video, then of course you know where you can listen to it. Before I do get into this video guys, it's definitely going to get demonetized because I'm playing a lot of copyrighted content, so hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to support the channel. So I'm always uploading songwriting and production tutorials, as well as more reviews like this, and any other advice I can give for aspiring music producers and songwriters wanting to make a income off of their art. So with that out the way, let's get into listening to this album. Starting at the very top with Tides.
When you are in my arms, it always will. Life is changing. Time.
Okay, so first song, Tides. Initial thoughts on it was I was surprised about how sort of pop rock it sounded. Very unlike Ed at the start, but what I really loved about the songwriting was the complete contrast in dynamics from the verse and the pre-chorus to the chorus, where it dropped out into that really sort of soft section where it feels a lot more chill and intimate. Now, one thing I want to pick out about that section was the use of the vocoder on there. That's really cool. And for those of you who don't know what a vocoder is, it's basically a bit of software which can convert an audio signal, i.e. a vocal, and turn it into a sort of synth sound. The reason why vocoder is a really cool thing to use because it's a different sound in its entirety and it creates its own sort of effect, and it can be a lot more interesting sometimes than just using backing vocals alone. And depending on how many notes you program in, you can make a lovely wall of chorus using a vocoder. The song itself is quite uplifting, and I can understand why it's the first track on the album because it creates a lot of energy, but at the same time I can imagine, because there's going to be some more chill tracks on the album, having a song that has that variety in the dynamic is a really good indicator for the rest of the album. I'm going to move on to the next one, which is Shivers, which I have done a full reaction video to, which you can check out, which I'll link below. But we're going to listen to it, and then again I'm going to do a quick review of the song.
To the heart, I never kissed a mouth that tastes like yours. Strawberries and something more. Oh yeah, I want it all. Lipstick on my guitar, fill up the engine
So one thing I talked about when I did a reaction to this video is I loved how the production developed, especially in the first verse of the first chorus. There was so much development which sort of drove the song on and made it very interesting to listen to, because one of the main things in a pop song is you want to have consistent development to keep the listener engage, especially if you have a lot of repetitive qualities and textures in the song, because you don't want to get bored listening to it if it's just the same thing over and over. This song does have a lot of catchy melodies into it, and I feel like it was written with the loop pedal in mind, which obviously if you're Ed Sheeran and that's the way you perform, you've got to have that in your mind. But it's a really solid pop song all round, and that is basically the best way that I can sum it up. It makes sense having it at number 2 because you want to continue that energy that we had from the first song, Tides. But yeah, I am going to keep these reactions for each songs brief again because I want to keep the time of this video down. So I'm going to tell you at this point now, comment below if there's any songs at all throughout that you want me to do a more in-depth reaction to. I'll be happy to do that in future videos. So let's move on to the next song, which is called First Times. See, this is better.
I thought it'd feel different playing Wembley, 80,000 singing with me.
This is just
chasing.
plus album vibes all around already.
When it was all over, I cleared out the room, grabbed a couple beers, just me and you. Then we start talking the way that we do. Ain't it funny how the simplest things in life can make a man? Little moments that pass us by. Oh, but I remember the first kiss, the first night, the first song that made you cry, the first drink, red wine on a step in Brooklyn. I still feel the first fight. We both made it out alive, and I can't wait to make a million more first times.
Okay, so this is exactly the sort of music that I wanted Ed to write. I just love these sorts of songs because they're a lot more on the singer-songwriter side, they're raw. Now, in the production point of view, there was white noise that was leaking through, which would have been intentionally put in. It's nice, it gives the song a lot more of a raw feel, which I always feel emphasizes the storytelling more in the song and makes it a lot more of an intimate and easy listening song. I love how it's that classic singer-songwriter production as well, where it starts with the acoustic guitar and then it goes to piano, and we've also got a really nice string section that comes in the second half of this song. Really, again, adds the emotion and feel of the song. And the thing I really like is the song hasn't been over-processed, again going back to the more acoustic and more raw feel, which you will hear a lot more on the Plus album and his Loose Change album. Overall, this is a beautiful little number that he's got at number 3, First Times, and this is a lot more like old Ed, and I'm all for that. Alright, let's go to number 4, and this is Bad Habits. This is the biggest song on the album so far, the single which ignited the fire for this album. So we're going to give that a listen. Again, I've done a reaction to this already, which I'll link below.
Every time you come around, you know I can't say no. Every time the sun goes down, I let you take control. I can feel the paradise before my world implodes. And tonight had something wonderful. My bad habits lead to late nights, sitting alone, conversations with a stranger I barely know, swearing this will be the last, but it probably won't. I got nothing left to lose or use or do. My bad habits lead to white eyes, stare into space, and I know I lose control of the things that I say. Yeah, I was looking for a way out, now I can't escape. Nothing happens after 2. It's true, it's true. My bad habits lead to you.
Wicked. So if you're watching this video, I'm sure you've definitely heard that song already. We had that anti-drop, which is a lot more common now in pop music nowadays, with the 4 on the floor and the sort of offbeat bass, which gives you a little bit of a bouncy feel. I like that, all for that. And again, this is sort of shares a lot of similarities with Shivers in how they probably approach the songwriting to this. Like, there's a lot of repetition, which makes it easier to loop and perform. And it's a lot more of the blueprint of a pop chart song where you've got really catchy melodies which are persistent throughout, with subtle developments happening in the verse and the pre-choruses to keep the song progressing and flowing. And in the second chorus, there's just a few little extra elements that have been added to mix it up so we don't get bored of the song. But again, I've done a full reaction to that song, which you can check out, again linked below. Let's move on to song number 5, Overpass Graffiti.
This is a dark parade.
It's got an 80s feel to it. Okay, so I'm telling you now, that is already going to be my favourite song on the album, mainly because I'm just a huge fan of 80s music and 80s vibe. Now, there's a lot of sounds in there which would have been off the Juno 60, which is a absolutely notorious and well-established keyboard which was used in the 80s at the time. And what makes this song feel so sort of 80s, that sort of disco pop, is that repetitive drum groove which is consistent throughout. We've got the pads which add the ambience and the atmosphere to the track, a really nice long reverb on the vocals, and I just got all the time in the world for that. I feel like this is one of the longer songs on the album at 3 minutes 56. A bit of bias is coming in here. I love this song. Let's go to number 6, The Joker and the Queen.
How was I to know? It's a crazy thing. I showed you my hand and you still let me win. And who was I to say that this was meant to be? The road that was broken brought us together, and I know you could fall for 1,000 kings and hearts that would give you a diamond ring. When I fall, you see the best in me, the Joker and the Queen.
Okay, so this song, I stand corrected, this is one of my favourite songs on the album. I feel like this might happen a lot, but the reason I love this song so much, it instantly reminded me of one of my favourite Beatles songs, The Long and Winding Road. The production really fits in with sort of 60s slow love songs. The thing that really made it feel like a love song to me was the string section, which sounded so saturated and mid-heavy, almost like it was playing out of a vinyl player. It just had that sort of nostalgic old love story feel to it, which sort of adds to the whole emotion of the song. It's just such a delicate song. It's more on the songwriting emphasis. Like, I like how the production, again, is kept simple with just strings. The addition of the acoustic guitar at the start of the second verse was a nice development as well as the piano. But when you keep these songs more stripped back, it means that the vocal is more at the forefront of the mix, and you can really listen to what's been said, and you can feel the performance that Ed Sheeran's put on the vocal, and you can really feel it. And I think this is just a really chill love song. I would love to hear this on vinyl. Number 7, Leave Your Life.
If I forget to say goodbye,
Wow, this is mixing up now.
catch the plane, would you know the way that I feel when I'm away? We'll see the same sky tonight, but the stars are out of place. You never know the way my heart, every time I leave you, babe. It's hard to break the
What I found really interesting about this song was the percussive element at the start. It was so different, it was slightly offbeat, it felt like it dragged, but that just added, I think, to the feel of the song, made it a lot more interesting. The chorus as well hits very hard in this song. I'm already struggling to string sentences together because my tea hasn't kicked in yet, so I'm just going to have a quick sip. But there was one thing about the song that really stuck with me, which I thought was really cool, was in the bridge towards the end of the song, the acoustic guitar came in, and it sounded so modulated, almost like it had some sort of like a flange on it and like a chorus effect. That was really cool. You don't see that often in songs because it is a very distinct sound that you get. The productions, it isn't just recording an acoustic guitar in, it's how you can manipulate sound acoustic guitar and make it sound different. So it's not just your typical like acoustic pop sort of album, which it definitely isn't, because there's a whole contrast on here so far from what I've been hearing, from singer-songwriter to pop rock to straight up commercial pop into more a piano ballad sort of vibe. So there's a lot of different songs going on here. I realise we've only just got halfway through, so I'm going to speed up a little bit. So we're going to go to Collide.
Pizza to an aeroplane, slept on the beach like we were castaways. We've been in a storm, you're not here. Been to an Irish bar in central Rome, driven to hospitals with broken
Start that verse sounds like a Harry Styles song.
Shared a toothbrush and shared our home.
It's fine, now we'll get copyrighted.
We've seen the moon reflect on a rolling tide. Been up at 5 a.m. watching the sunrise, because the world looks better when I'm by your side. Oh why, oh why, oh why? When you and I collide, you bring me to life. Yeah, you bring me to life. You bring me to life. When you and I collide, you bring me to life. Yeah, you bring me to life. You bring me to life.
So I was waiting for what point in the album where we'd start to get a little bit more world sounds. So by I mean world sounds, I mean taking influence from different like continents in terms of the musical textures, and definitely from a percussive element we have got that. I was gonna say like I hope this doesn't repeat throughout the whole song and they try and change up the dynamics, but towards the end it dropped out and it became a lot more chill, which I really liked. Again, sort of adding a little bit of development towards the end there, so it's just not repetitive throughout the whole song. Because one thing that made Divide was the fact that when you had stuff like Barcelona on there, songs like that, it's just completely different and out of context from anything else in the album. Sometimes it's really good to sort of take the listener away from a bit of the sort of normality, more commercial side, and try and do a little bit more of a world influence to really mix the album up. And songs like this is what makes albums great, because you've got to have variety on there. So I really like the use of them percussive elements in there. Let's go to Two Step now. This has got loop written all over it.
I had a bad week, spent the evening pretending it wasn't that deep. You could see in my eyes that it was taking over. I guess I was just blind and caught up in the moment. You know you take all of my stress right down. Help me get it off my chest and out into the ether with the rest of this mess that just keeps us depressed. We forget that we're here right now, cause we're living life at a different pace, stuck in a constant race. The pressure on your bound to break, something's got to change. We should just be cancelling all our plans and not give a damn if we're missing out on what the people think is right. See it through a picture behind a screen and forget to be, lose the conversation for the message that you'll never read. I think maybe you and me, oh, we should head out to the place where the music plays, and then we'll go all night. Just stepping with a woman I love. All my troubles bringing up and when I'm in your eyes, electrified. We'll keep turning up and go all night. When we have dips and falls in our time, but we know what it is to be low then up, alone then love, and all we need is us to go all night, night.
Okay, so this is a lot more the rap side of Ed Sheeran. Like, we all know that he likes a rap song, and like he's very heavily influenced in his sound by hip hop. And I was waiting for a song like this to come along. It is the shortest song on the album at 2 minutes 33. And yeah, it is what it is. It's something that could probably fit on every single Ed Sheeran album, even though most of the songs could fit on every single Ed Sheeran album which has followed. But a song like that is really just like the roots of Ed. So it's really good to hear songs like that on the album. Number 10, Stop the Rain.
Another human cloud to bring you down when you blew the last away. Bring out a poison tongue, a plastic crown for me that look to say. Sometimes it can get all too much for me, and that's why the photograph gets burned through the matching gasoline. Don't let the ones who hurt you see you cry. Tomorrow is another day.
Drop, anti-drop. Anti-drop. Okay, so what I really liked about this song was it follows the blueprint for a commercial pop song a lot more. It gets to the chorus really quickly. It's got that anti-drop in there, which gets down to the drums and bass, which is a vibe, by the way. But it reminds me a lot more. I had to check the song credits before. Now, this sounds a lot like a Charlie Puth song, and like sort of the structure, the way it's written. I stand corrected, Charlie Puth didn't co-write this. But overall, I really like the breakdown at the end as well, where it went a little bit more focus on like vocals and like the wall of vocal harmonies at the end, which is really cool overall. Like this again, this is a really solid pop song, which is interesting that it's been placed so far down, because a song like this could have done really well further up the album. Like if you either thinking more about an album sort of been a two-sided affair, like on vinyl, it would have been really interesting to have this sort of with Bad Habits and Shivers on one side. So when you flip the album over, so you've got a lot more chill sounding on one side, and then on one side you've got the more commercial pop stuff. Obviously, because vinyl isn't as big anymore, you don't really think about that when you write an album, but I'm pretty sure that if this album was released a couple decades ago and vinyl was a lot more prominent, I reckon a lot more of these sorts of songs that we're listening to now would have been higher up the album, and the more chill songs, like especially First Times, would be a lot further down in the B-side. Okay, Love in Motion.
Tell you you're beautiful, 'cause it's been a while, and I apologize. I just get caught up in the rat race I'm running, chasing a moment I'm hoping is coming. If I stop to take a look around, it's in front of my eyes. Baby, let's slow down time. Baby, just press rewind, darling.
Okay, again, this is something that I can imagine like would have fitted right in the B-side of the Divide album. I really like the sound. I think it was a banjo. I'm gonna double check. Yeah, I think that's a banjo. But again, it's different, mixing up the textures, so it's not just acoustic guitar. Like you've got all sorts of different instrumentation happening throughout this whole album, and that's really good to see. It shows the experimentation, which makes the album a lot more interesting. I really liked the end of this song. It was massive, massive wall of sound, a lot of vocal ad-libs in there, which a song like this, like you want it to sound powerful. That's sometimes the best way to get that feeling across is to like lay in vocals towards the end and get them ad-libs in there, doing them vocal riffs. And I think this is really well mixed as well, because there was a little bit of a lack of the mid-frequencies, especially in the chorus, and that sort of gave the track a lot of room to breathe. All of the higher frequencies are sort of around you. So when I'm listening to this song, this one really felt like the song was sort of happening around me, which adds to the atmosphere and the emotion of the song. So that's really cool as well. Next one, which I've already reacted to, which is the third single, Visiting Hours. We know what this one's about. Let's quickly listen to it.
I wish the heaven had visiting hours, so I could just show up and bring the news that she's getting older. And I wish that you met her. The things that you learned from me, I got them all from you. If I just stay around and we'll put all the world to rights. The little ones will grow and I'll still drink your favorite wine. And soon they're going to close, but I'll see you another day. So much has changed since you've been away.
Honestly, it's one of the most beautiful songs that Ed's ever written, in my opinion, not only because of the context of the song, but just sort of the overall feel you get from it. I mean, if you've lost someone recently, like, if you don't want to be crying, this is not the song that you need to be listening to. But I really like the idea of where it's been placed on the album. When you release 3 singles for an album, you sort of want them spread out because it gives new listeners who've heard the singles an excuse to listen throughout the whole album to get to that song. So placing at number 12 means that people who probably want to listen to that song will most likely listen to the rest of the album and then get to that song so they can listen to that. And it gives people to listen to the music on the whole album rather than just the 3 songs come out. But, you know, if you're checking out his album, you're not just going to be listening to the 3 singles he's already released anyway. But yeah, I did know that Visiting Hours was going to be later in the album, mainly again because the feel, that sort of theory behind the A-B side, with the A side being a lot more commercial and the B side being a lot more of the experimental singer-songwriter. And but again, it's just a beautiful song overall. Like, I don't want to say too much more about it. Again, I'll leave the link below for that reaction video I did on the song, a lot more in depth. Let's get to song number 13, called Salmon. Pizzicato strings, nice. And a marimba as well.
You were loved before you had a right. Every day that love just multiplies. Daddy made your bed and your lullaby.
This is a very light-hearted song.
Mama made the mobile in the sky. Loving you is easy.
I think that's a ukulele as well.
Life will not always be. Fall into the world of your song. Whatever you feel can never be wrong. Come along for the ride, and in a shake of the lamb's tail we'll go. Be still now and close your eyes and dream.
This must be the song you wrote for his
Hanging out with
daughter.
the Sandman. You look so sweet, my child. Hanging out with the Sandman. Although there's rain outside, you'll be warm and dry. The thunder and the lightning won't hurt you now. So go to sleep, my love. Hanging out with the Sandman.
This is just a really light-hearted song. I really like it. I mean, it makes sense that it's towards the end of the album because it's sort of a nice, chill, light-hearted way to end the album after you've had all sorts of different changes in the sort of the dynamics and the contextual feel of the album so far. So to have this towards the end makes sense. I couldn't imagine this being earlier in the album because you might be listening to it like, okay, what's this? But yeah, it is just an adorable little song. I really like the use of a lot more delicate textured instrumentation, like the pizzicato strings and then like a really light string section when it comes in. You've got the marimba or a xylophone. I can't tell which one it is out of the two. Plus a ukulele as well. It just makes it a really fun song. Sort of like Love Is Easy by McFly when that came out. You can tell like that's sort of a really nice light-hearted love song, and this is just like clearly just a song that was written light-hearted for Ed Sheeran's child. And again, this is the sort of thing that I can imagine just been on really chill, light-hearted playlists. Easy listening. Now on the last song on the album, Be Right Now. Let's give it a listen. Oh, wow, that is not what I was expecting.
shut out. Just stay here and be right now.
So yes guys, that is the album. I love how the album ended with just his voice at the end of the last song. That sort of is a really nice way to sort of finish off the album and put a full stop at the end of the last chapter. This song was very different to anything else on the album, and that was a common theme. Each song is different to the next. There's so many different influences from different decades, genres going on here. And overall, it just helps this album be very dynamic and interesting and gives the listener to keep listening through, especially if you're listening to it for the first time and maybe you're not even a fan of Ed. But having it mixed up like this means you can't really predict what's going to happen next. But overall, I really like this album. I remember when I first listened to Divide, I wasn't as sure on Divide, and naturally did grow to love it because there's some really, really good songs in there. But this album overall, I just vibe so much more than Divide. I don't know what everyone else's thought on this, but in terms of ranking it from Divide to Equals, I definitely think this album's better. Maybe the songs won't be as big as, say, Your Perfects or Shape of You, but the overall quality of this album, I just think, is so much better and so much more diverse and dynamic. Now, that is an opinion you may not agree with, and don't shoot me for saying that. That is just my opinion. But feel free to comment below what you rate this album out of 10. I'm really interested to see what you guys think of it, and all you Ed Sheeran fans out there. But yes, guys, this has been my reaction to Ed Sheeran's album Equals. Again, if you want to see more in-depth reactions to some of his singles that he's released so far, click the links below. But most importantly, hit that subscribe button, because it's the best way to support this channel, as this video would definitely be demonetized. And if you are watching this now, thank you for watching. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you found anything that I've said interesting at all. But other than that, guys, keep making music, and I'll see you in the next video.